Hello, my name is Brijesh and I am the product owner for the OS 2200 feature within the AB Suite 9.0 project. This presentation is part of the AB Suite 9.0 new product information transfer, and it's specifically about the implementation of AB Suite for the OS 2200 platform. In this presentation, I'll start out by listing all the new features included in AB Suite 9.0 for OS 2200, and then we'll go through each listed feature in details with even demonstration included for some of the features. These are the new features included in AB Suite 9.0 for OS 2200. Secure FTP, CRDB layout, restart a failed host deploy, copy paste and cut paste on developer, secure communications between AB Suite builder client and build server on OS 2200 host, model and language improvements including parameters on methods, methods in iSpecs and reports, and group instances. Next up, Sina, senior engineer from AB Suite OS 2200 team, will dive into each of these features.
So first, let's go through the secure FTP feature. This feature is available to encrypt the data in FTP transfers from the client to the host. The communications between the host, client and the host are encrypted using the TLS 1.2 protocol. So on the client host side, implicit secure FTP port 990 is used, and a TLS certificate must be configured for FTP to secure the messages. Similarly, on the client side, the matching host TLS certificate must be installed in the Windows Trusted Store, and secure FTP socket 990 must be used for the secure file transfer. Then enable secure FTP configuration property from the system modeler project. For this, as you can see in this picture, in the deployment folder configuration property page under connection, set the use secure FTP property to true. This will automatically set the FTP port number property to 990 and then disable it. So once these are set and build is performed, FTP transfer will happen securely. So next feature is CRDB layout. Before talking about this, let me go through some details on column order. So when you deploy a new version of your system that includes changes to persistent attributes, then a reorganization of the database table may be required. Such a reorganization can take a significant amount of time on a heavily populated table. However, a reorganization can be avoided when the only change involves the addition of new non-key persistent attributes such as new columns in the table. The standard layout of a table is for all non-key columns to be ordered alphabetically by name. Therefore, if a new column is added with a name that is in the middle of the alphabetic column name sequence, the standard layout is being used, then a table reorganization will happen. A facility exists where all new columns are added at the end of the column order and so giving a non-standard column layout. In this case, a full reorganization of the table is not required, potentially saving a significant amount of time to deploy the new version of the system. In the EAE environment, the column order information is saved in the previous configuration, that is, system options part of the model under each generate set. And on subsequent bits, this saved column order information is used. The internal mechanism of retaining this column order information for subsequent builds has changed significantly from EAE to AB Suite. The AB Suite system maintains this record of the non-standard column order for all tables in a file called RDMS layout. So this file is generated during the generation of the database schema definition and is uploaded and stored with the deployed system on the OS 2200 host. During subsequent builds, this file is downloaded from the OS 2200 host and is used in the generation of the new version of the database schema definition. So any newly added columns will be added at the end of the column order. So that was some background details on RDMS layout file. So this new feature, CRDB layout, is introduced as a recovery mechanism of this RDMS layout file in case the file is deleted or not found on the host. This is a new function added in the available runtime utility called LRU, and using this we'll create a new RDMS layout file based on the physical column order in tables from an actual RDMS database. So given is the new function syntax which can be used from your demand session, where runtime is your runtime environment name, system name is for which you want to recreate the RDMS layout file. Let me demo CRDB layout feature. So for this, I have an already deployed system called CR demo on OS 2200 host, and I have all generated files available under the system path. And here you can see RDMS layout file is available now. And let's open this. I have kept it opened, and you can see all the column order details for persistent tables are available. So to execute the CRDB layout function, so first let me delete the existing RDMS layout file. So delete CR demo RDMS layout file. So it is deleted. So next let's execute the CRDB layout function. So as I explained in presentation, this is the function syntax for CRDB layout. So here ABS 9R0 is my runtime environment name and CR demo is the system name. Let me transmit. So it says RDMS layout is not available, recreating the file. Let me enter Y and transmit. So it is completed with 0 errors. So let's verify it once. Let me refresh it. Okay, so the file has been recreated with the new timestamp. So let's verify it. And it has all the column order details for all persistent tables. So restart a failed host deploy. It is possible that a host compile and deploy operation can sometimes fail at some point. The host build server has the inbuilt capability to restart this failed deploy operation, and it will pick up from where it left off. It doesn't need to redo completed tasks such as compiles and links. This saves time by avoiding the need to perform a full build of the application. In the initial 8.0 release, this capability was not available. The attempt to restart would always start at the beginning. So now we have enhanced that, and when you do a new build after a failed build, as you can see in this picture, you will get a message as the last generate attempt failed with errors in the output pane, and a dialog is displayed asking if the user would like to restart the previous deployment. And we have a temporary limitation here. This feature currently works for a system build only and doesn't work for a report build operation or a combined system and report build. Copy paste and cut paste in developer. So copying and moving elements from one place to another in an AB suite model is a very complex process internally. This is due to internal transformations when you make a copy or cut of an element from one context to another. Because of the large amount of work to make copy paste and cut paste work for all scenarios in an OS 2200 model, this was not fully implemented for all element types in the initial 8.0 release, and a lot of these changing owner operations were not enabled. Now both of these operations are enabled for all types of elements. Let's cover one scenario on copy paste feature on OS 2200. So for that, I have sampled OS 2200 model project here, and cust is a persistent iSpec and a persistent attribute. Attribute 1 is available under this iSpec, and you can see is persistent is set to yes. And also I have another iSpec which is non-persistent. So let's copy this attribute 1 from persistent table and paste it under cust1. So you can see attribute 1 is copy to the cust1 iSpec, which is non-persistent, and it has all the original properties, but is persistent is set to no. So similarly, copy paste and cut paste works for all element types with required internal transformations. From the security point of view, we have made improvements to the build process, ensuring a higher level of security. Previously, we implemented TLS 1.2 encryption for the FTP file transfer of source files. Now, in this release, we have extended that encryption to cover the entire communication between AB Suite Builder client and the Builder server on the OS 2200 host. This enhancement is particularly important during the initial phase when the client logs into OS 2200, as all the user codes and passwords are now fully encrypted. We have also made incremental improvements to the AB Suite modeling and logic language for OS 2200. So in the 8.0 release of AB Suite for OS 2200, to fast track AB Suite on this platform, we decided to reuse the host-based OS 2200 runtime environment from EAE. So this meant that the features available in the runtime were limited to equivalent functionality from EAE. So there were some significant restrictions in the language features available. In this release, we have started to incrementally implement improvements to these features, essentially to implement some of the standard object-oriented and AB Suite goodness to the modeling and LDL plus logic language on the OS 2200 platform. So one of the main areas has been methods. Previously, these were implemented as equivalent to global logics in EAE, that is, only existing under the segment and not having parameters. So now methods can have parameters. So these can be primitive types like strings and numbers or arrays or even groups. Additionally, user-defined methods are now allowed within iSpecs and reports. Another significant improvement is that we now fully support the concept of group instances. In EAE, you could have a group and define another GSD item that was defined to be same as that group. Now, this GSD is not really an instance of that group. It is simply a string item that is the same length as that group. That is, the only thing that it derives from the group is its length. And correspondingly, in the 8.0 version of AB Suite, the same restriction applies to an attribute which is templated to a group. So now we have extended this definition so that an attribute that is templated to a group is a true instance of that group. It derives the full internal structure of the group, and you can refer to the sub-items within that group instance using fully qualified names. So next, I will play a demo video showing how OS 2200 sample model can be updated with usage of methods with parameters and group instances.
The first feature that we are going to discuss here is method parameters. Earlier, we could have a segment method, but we couldn't add any parameters to that segment methods. But in the new feature, we can add parameters. As you can see here, I have two parameters that has been added to the method get cust balance new. So the first parameter here is pcust number, which has direction in, and then the second parameter is pcust balance, which has a direction out. So you can see in the logic, this is how we used to call the method before. We basically we are using global variables as substitute to the parameters. So we used to move some value to the global variables and use that global variable inside the method, and finally get the value of that global variable back into the whatever local variable you wanted to get it to. Instead of that, now you can directly use the parameters, pass the value as in variable, get the value in out variable. So this is just one of the usage on how you can use this particular parameters. And as you have noticed, these parameters are primitive in this example. This is cust number is string and cust balance is number. We can also have complex parameters instead. We can instead of passing a string, instead of having a primitive parameter, we can also have a group parameter. So I have a method here called print cust info, and I have a parameter here called pcust info, and it is templated to something, a global group called g underscore cust info group. And if you look into the group here, it has address, name, and postcode. So I can now add a parameter which is templated to group, and while calling the method, I can directly pass the group. Similarly, I can also add array as a parameter as well. The next feature that we are going to discuss is the user defined methods. Now, earlier, I could have only main method under report. Similarly, main method and our construct method, or any prepare method for ispec, even for copy ispec, etc. Now I can add any number of user defined methods under report, ispec, copy ispec, etc. So earlier we used to have only one main method under the report, where you can see there are a lot of logic. Every logic has to be accommodated inside this, and you know how lengthy it is, and it contains all the logic, which is very hard to understand as well. But now, after this new feature, you can see here main method just contains this small lines where you can uh, call the user defined methods which has meaningful names, and from those you'll get to know what actually you are trying to achieve. So we have initial setup, and under the initial setup, the code for the initial setup is transferred there. So it is just helps in maintaining your code better. And the final feature that we are going to discuss here is about group instance. So earlier, let's go back to the print cust info method with the templated parameter. So earlier, whenever a parameter or an attribute for that matter is templated to a group, uh, the templated attribute, that is pcust info, is straight up treated as a string. It is not treated as a group instance. But now you can treat pcust info as a group instance, and you can access the individual elements that is there under the group from the pcust info. So earlier we used to just directly use the pcust info as a string, but now you can see that pcust info is templated to g underscore cust info group, and g underscore cust info group has address, name, and postcode. We can access the address, name, and postcode directly from the pcust info. Thank you all. Thank you. We have now come to the end of this new feature presentation video on AB Suite 9.0 for OS 2200. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I would wish you well with using the product. Thank you.